They set me up on a blind date with an obese girl. But my reaction left the room in tears. The moment I walked into the restaurant, I realized I had become the center of someone's cruel joke. A group of familiar faces sat at a distant table pretending not to watch, their phones subtly pointed in my direction, waiting for the moment I would see my blind date and react the way they expected. They wanted laughter, embarrassment, and another story they could tell for years. But none of them knew that within the next hour, the room would fall completely silent, and more than one person would leave with tears in their eyes. Before we continue, if you believe every person deserves kindness, respect, and a chance to be loved for who they truly are, please like this video, comment with your thoughts, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Love Tales for more emotional stories that touch the heart. As I looked across the room, I saw a young woman sitting alone by the window. She wore a simple blue dress, her long dark hair resting over her shoulders, and although she smiled politely when our eyes met, I could also see years of pain hidden behind that smile. She was overweight, and from the way people occasionally glanced toward her before quickly looking away, it was obvious she had spent much of her life being judged before anyone even knew her name. I could have walked away like everyone expected. Instead, I walked directly toward her, greeted her warmly, and took my seat with genuine respect. The surprise on her face lasted only a second before it transformed into cautious relief. It was as though she had prepared herself to be rejected once again but had secretly hoped that this time would be different. As the evening unfolded, I discovered a woman whose heart was far more beautiful than anyone in that room had bothered to notice. She volunteered every weekend at an animal shelter, cared for her elderly mother after work, and had quietly paid for the education of a younger cousin without ever telling anyone. She laughed with sincerity, listened without interrupting, and spoke about people with compassion instead of judgment. Every minute we spent together made me realize how shallow first impressions could be. Meanwhile, the people who had arranged the date kept watching from across the room. Their smiles slowly faded because the humiliation they had planned never happened. Instead of leaving early, we stayed for hours, talking about childhood dreams, painful memories, and the hope that someday people would stop measuring human worth by appearance alone. Toward the end of dinner, I stood, walked to the table where everyone had been watching, and thanked them. They looked confused, expecting anger. I explained that they believed they had embarrassed me, but in reality they had introduced me to one of the kindest people I had ever met. I told them that making someone the punchline of a joke because of their appearance revealed far more about their character than hers. The restaurant became so quiet that even the background music seemed to disappear. Some lowered their heads, unable to meet our eyes. One person quietly apologized. Another simply walked away in tears. The woman beside me had tears in her eyes as well, but they were different. They were the tears of someone who had finally been treated with the dignity every human being deserves. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't being looked at with pity or ridicule. She was simply being seen. Months passed, and our friendship grew into something neither of us had expected. Life wasn't perfect. She still faced judgment from strangers, and I still witnessed how quickly people made assumptions based on appearances. But together we learned that love isn't built on perfect bodies or flawless faces. It grows through patience, kindness, loyalty, and the courage to stand beside someone when the world refuses to understand them. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Love Tales. Your support helps more inspiring stories reach people who need them most. Special request: before this story ends, comment below with one word that you believe makes a person truly beautiful. That evening taught everyone in the room a lesson that no joke could erase. Beauty fades, popularity disappears, and appearances change with time, but genuine kindness leaves a mark that lasts forever. The people who had expected laughter witnessed something far more powerful instead: respect replacing prejudice, compassion overcoming cruelty, and two strangers reminding everyone that the strongest hearts are often hidden behind the faces the world is too quick to judge. Sometimes the greatest love stories begin where shallow expectations end, and the tears that filled that room were not tears of embarrassment, but tears born from the realization that every human soul deserves to be loved exactly as it is.